up, everybody?
Welcome back to the second episode of the Arms Race podcast. And today we're going to be doing more of a deep dive looking into Lockheed Martin, of all companies, the biggest defense contractor in the world. So let's dig right into it. So the modern Lockheed Martin as we know it really got its start in 1995 when Lockheed Corporation joined with Martin Corporation to form Lockheed Martin as we know it today, the big defense contractor after the fall of the USSR. As the U.S. Defense Department advised a lot of these companies to allocate and get closer together as there wasn't as much of a demand to produce all these wartime products as the Cold War had recently ended. But since then, they've kind of built their relationship with the U.S. government and the Department of Defense to become its biggest partner today, and we got to look into why is the reason for that.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think Lockheed Martin is in a totally different zone. I mean, they've got the majority of the government contracts. You know, they have the F-35. They have so much innovation, which we're going to get into today. And I think if you guys want, we could start with the F-35. And then they've been producing that for, I think it's like 20-year anniversary.
Of
the F-35.
Yeah, as of this year, they delivered 191 F-35.
Yeah, and it generates most of their revenue. It generates 27% of their revenue.
Yeah.
How are they innovating with the F-35 today? What does that look like?
So what they've actually done, which is very interesting, is they've added their AI systems, which we spoke about in our short. It basically makes it seem like a pilot's playing a video game in sense, in which he can switch through different views, like infrared cameras, or even radar, all of this together. And they've also added their AI-assisted combat systems, which is new. So basically, this artificial intelligence, it helps them, the pilots, analyze everything in real time.
Yeah, and you guys know how they have a war room in the Pentagon and have the simulators and stuff. This thing in the F-35 is so sophisticated that they can't even build a simulator to actually replicate it.
So then it's a system level innovation, right? It's not the actual jet.
Yes, I mean, everyone always talks about how the F-35 is fighter jet, but it's not.
So it's way more beyond that.
It's like a flying sensor node with sensor fusion. That's the real innovation that they initially hit on back in 2006.
And also, what's unique about it is that it's constantly updating. You can almost think of it as a major video game like Fortnite, in that it's always receiving updates, always becoming better. And among US and NATO countries that Lockheed Martin has presented its F-35s to, it's really developed a strong military alliance just through using the same interface and technology.
Yeah, I really liked how you said that it was constantly receiving updates, because that's basically what happened. Lockheed Martin recently just lost their contract for the NGAD, which is the 6th gen program to build a 6th gen fighter jet. Boeing won it over them. But all of their classified 6th generation architecture that they were working on for the new F-47, they're going to put into the F-35 instead. So it's going to become like a 5.5 generation stealth fighter.
I think that's just like a testament to the system level innovation that they've built, right? It's more than a machine. It's almost like a living creature. Like you can teach it, right? So I think that's what's super interesting about it.
I think they're systematically trying to reframe this entire plane, especially because now the plane can also coordinate with these ships and submarines. So the amount of data that it keeps receiving and making the plane more efficient is crazy, because no other fighter jet does that. And when you spoke about how, a flight simulator can't be built that replicates this F-35. So I think this is purely because of the information that it receives that I think even Boeing hasn't come up with yet.
Yeah. Does it have those? So they've also been producing these hypersonic weapons which go Mach 5. I'm not sure if the F-35 is including them, but they're building them, right?
They're even I saw something, and they're also using their hypersonic weapons in terms of their defense system. So with THAAD and then the Patriot, it's concerning. I mean, it depends on who you are to say if it's concerning, but they're ramping up production by 3 times the amount for these hypersonic missiles. So it's going to be really interesting to see where they take those.
They were the ones who invented the concept of going Mach 3. They built the SR-71 Blackbird back in 1964. It flew at Mach 3.2 at 100,000 feet. It was so hot that it would leak on the ground because the engineers had to design it to tense up basically at 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Now they're they're at Mach 5, their latest innovation. They're building missiles that go Mach 5.
And that was one of their, it's their use of AI. They're actually building this thing called the Guidance, Navigation, and Control System. It's a major new category of weapons technology, right?
Yeah.
It's so integrated with machine learning and AI. It's pretty much building a database of data, decisions, and it's using those interfaces like across their entire hypersonic weapons, and it's actually going to be able to track. It's going to be able to measure. It's going to be able to, and that's really changing the weapons game, I think, completely.
You know, like going off what you said, like now that I think about it, they're hypersonic missiles now. Like they basically integrate hypersonic defense data into battle management systems, and that's why they've got a new contract for $4.1 billion.
Yeah.
I think the product is called C2BMC.
Mhm.
Is their next contract, and
Yeah.
like it makes it so big because even in 2024, $17 billion contract for this same next gen the interceptor that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the fact that this is whole like it's like a battlefield like management system, but I think what makes Lockheed Martin really like even like a step above that is they're not just still innovating on the software like Palantir's still doing. They actually have like the hardware where they,
Yeah.
like, no one
Sensor
else,
fusion.
Yeah.
no one else can manufacture what the
Mhm.
at the scale that Lockheed Martin can.
They've been the U.S. Department of Defense biggest contractor since like 2008, and there's obviously a reason for that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
like they're producing state-of-the-art jets, missiles, and everything, and now they're building the entire system around it.
Yeah.
Where if let's say they're looking to go a different direction, it's just so hard to because the Lockheed Martin system is just so ingrained into like
Yeah.
almost every national security and wartime function of the U.S. government.
And how do you think they're gonna stay innovative in like the rapidly changing technological landscape, right? I mean, we see now that they're including AI, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
how will that change? What do you guys think?
So I think it's not about just making a plane that can go faster or it's something
Yeah.
that's stealthier. I think it's much bigger than that. What Lockheed Martin is doing so well is that they basically show a shift in their systems. It's just
Yeah.
not incremental, but they change how they're fighting. Like even while we're on this topic of missiles, their new missiles, the hypersonic missiles, they have actually decreased their time by so much for the detect. They basically call it the detect, decide, and interpret. So it makes it so much more efficient because there's so much less of, I would say, human addition or interaction.
Yeah.
The system just decides itself.
Yeah.
Similar to Palantir, what we saw.
It's so interesting because it's almost like they're so big that they almost can't possibly fail. Like they've
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
they've had billions in terms of like backlog that
Yeah.
have just been like funded by the government. And I mean, kind of back to what your bigger question about just like innovation was. Skunkworks, their division that's like top secret classified or whatever, they have a proven track record of innovating, right?
Okay.
Like they made the U2, they made the SR-71, the F-117, and the F-22.
So they're
And
gonna
of course
use
the
all this
F-35.
capital within Skunkworks. And
Well,
that's-
I was just saying that they have a
Yeah.
track record of innovating,
Yep.
so they're obviously going to continue to make it work.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
Coming with that frontier technology that they're
Absolutely.
producing.
I agree completely.
I think it's also important to talk about the ethical implications of Lockheed Martin.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
when you're having
Yeah.
a third-party company with so much power and pull within the U.S. Department of Defense, like what impact does it have when it comes to lobbying or getting these contracts
Yeah.
appraised? And
I think we talked about it. It was like the same implication with Palantir, right? It's like,
Yeah.
how do you weigh ethical boundaries with innovation? They're doing what they can to make their stakeholders money, and if that means building the next set or upgrading the F-35 to the point or using, I think we can get into it, like their multi-domain battle networks. and
Yeah, the
stuff.
new AI combat
Their new
systems,
AI
yeah.
combat systems. I think
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if they are, you can argue that they're just making money for their stakeholders.
Business is a
Yeah,
business to make
business is
money.
business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I do absolutely agree that there are ethical. I mean, especially when you're in defense, there's going to be ethical people will probably, be harmed by these missiles,
Mhm.
and I think that's something you have to weigh when you're even investing in the company, when you're looking at it. So,
Mhm.
I mean, yeah.
But Lockheed, on the other side of things, they are doing quite well in their ESG initiatives. I had to do a project for one of my accounting classes where we went into it and they made us like analyze the ESG initiatives for them, and they're being very like carbon centric, very
Cool. Yeah.
like they're trying to focus on the environment.
But yeah, I think Lockheed Martin still will be the major player within the defense industry. They have like at least 10 years of backlog on U.S. government contracts, which means that for the next 10 years, they're guaranteed contracts of work. They're still going to be a major player, and
Yeah.
especially in recent context with U.S. bombings in Iran and then just more political strife within the Middle East and
Yeah.
broader spheres too.
They were
Component.
F-35s operated by the Israelis that suppressed the Iranian air defense, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
And there's Polish
Yeah.
and Dutch F-35s that are shooting down Russian drones.
So this
and
is more than
aircraft.
the U.S., right?
Yeah,
Lockheed
It
Martin's-
extends a lot. Yeah.
It's
I'm-
at least 20 countries that are on the F-35 contract.
Yeah.
Wow.
The interesting thing though with Lockheed Martin is that it will forever probably remain pro-U.S. and that a major part of its like distribution change globally, it's only done through the U.S. So Lockheed Martin only sell their fighter planes to the U.S. and then through NATO alliances, that F-35 program
Yeah.
will be expanded to U.S. allies. So it's very valuable asset
Yeah.
and incentive to keep Lockheed Martin around.
So
for-
Lockheed Martin's gonna become like a U.S. defense innovation asset against the world.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's becoming more than a company, really.
yeah,
It's becoming
an ally.
not like an identity almost.
I mean,
Yeah.
the books speak for themselves. They have $194 billion of backlog, and
Yeah.
like they're making $75 billion a year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does speak for something. And
So
also,
the-
you know, if you look at Palantir, what we talked about last time, they were redefining the industry by cutting out humans entirely. They were AI focused, but we don't see Lockheed Martin doing that. They have like around 100,000 engineers, 75,000 employees. So they aren't really cutting off the humans from their functioning.
Yeah, they're one of the biggest
yeah,
employers.
they're
in
one of the
United
biggest
States.
employers.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should cut it off there, right? It was a pretty good conversation, right?
Yeah. Do you have any
So,
like,
I mean,
closing words?
I think Lockheed Martin's making strides in innovation in the defense industry, and
Yep.
that I think they'll be continue to do that with their upgrading systems, their AI systems. Yeah, so little teaser, right?
Yeah.
Next episode, we will be talking about probably Raytheon.
Raytheon.
It'll probably be
Stay tuned.
Raytheon. Raytheon's making big bounds around the news, right, across the
we
stock
all know,
market.
we all love them.
So we're definitely gonna be looking at that. So
Stay tuned.
stay tuned.
Didn't know we were talking